from Teams. So what you'll see at the top there, that's today's lesson. Okay, where it says 8.1, that is obviously today's lesson. That I'm just circling now. So there's a bit of a lag. There we go. So that 8.1 is the lesson that I'm just about to do. And you will see just below that, I've attached the Word document for this lesson. Okay. And if you just go and click on those three dots, that will just allow you to download it in advance of the lesson. Now, what I want us to do, every single lesson pretty much, I will want you to be putting your answers onto the Dr. Frost website. Okay. Just like we were doing at times for preps last term. So that would be great during lockdown, because on my second laptop I can just have the Dr. Frost analysis open, and I can actually see you completing the questions live during the lesson. And what I will do once the teaching bit's over, I will then share my screen with the worksheet that you're working on. So just like in lessons, if you get stuck on a question, you can just say, "So can you help me with question 3 or question 5?" And I will do so. So it's up to you really whether you choose to download the worksheet before a lesson so you can complete it onto the sheet. Some of you might think, "Oh, I can't be bothered with that. I'm just going to do my working straight into my orange book." Now that's absolutely fine. But either way, I do want you please uploading your answers onto Dr. Frost. Now today's questions will be pretty straightforward, but I just wanted to have plenty of time to help you out if you were struggling to log into Dr. Frost, or if you've forgotten your passwords and all that sort of stuff. So don't think just because today's work is really quick and quite easy that it will always be like that. When we're more confident with the technology, we can make the work a little bit more extensive. So, and as you can see on the screen, I've got a bit ahead of myself. You can already see what our next lesson is going to be. It's going to be the 8.2. Okay, oh, that colour's not very good one, is it? So you can see that worksheet there that I've just arrowed in red will be the one to run off for our next lesson. So today's lesson. So if you've got your orange books to hand, that is the title that I would like you to copy out. Okay, so I think it's a bit of a recap of what we did before the setting test. You can see I've taken an extract from the scheme of work in the corner. So if you are taking notes, that's the title. It's our 8th topic. It's our first lesson on it. So 8.1, square and cube roots. And that's today's date. So the bit we did do for our setting test was the other way around, the other way around of what we're looking at today. We looked at square numbers and cube numbers. So just to remind us of those, a square number is what you get when you multiply a number by itself. So 1 is a square number because 1 times 1 equals 1. 4 is a square number because 2 times 2 equals 4, and so on. So 9 would be a square number because 3 3s are 9, 16 is a square number, and so on. So those are what square numbers are. They're numbers that you get when you multiply a whole number by itself. Now a cube number is what you get when you multiply a number by itself and then by itself again. So 1 is a cube number because 1 times 1 times 1 equals 1. Okay, now have a little think. What do you think the next cube number is going to be? Don't call it out, don't unmute, but just have a little think in your mind. What do you think will be the next cube number? Well, it's going to be 8. Because 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. Okay, and then the next cube number you will get when you do 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27, and so on. So there's a quick reminder of what square numbers and cube numbers are. Now I'm going to move on quite quickly because I want to keep this bit of talking at the beginning quite brief. If you haven't managed to get any notes done in the time and you'd like to do so, don't panic. Just wait for the video to come through shortly and you can just play the video back and complete your notes. Okay, I mean, maybe you don't want to do notes, or when it's quite straightforward, or you just do bits and pieces of the notes. So I'll leave that completely up to you. So that is what we did in the past. I think I'm going to leave that for now, but I was suggesting that you could practice listing all the square numbers up to 100 and all the cube numbers up to 125. But I think we've done all that before, so I'm going to give that one a bit of a skip. Now, a square root. So you might want to write this bit down. This is really the kind of the new bit. So the square root of a number is the number which, when you multiply it by itself, it gives you the original number. Now that's a bit of a mouthful, okay? So the square root of a number is the number which, when you multiply it by itself, you get the original number. I think it's easier to think of that by way of an example. So think about the square root of 9. What number times itself gives you 9? Well, that is 3. Because 3 times 3 equals 9. So the square root of 9 is 3, because 3 times 3 equals 9. Okay, so what would be the square root of 16? So let's have a think about that. Now notice this sign there. That is the sign for a square root. Okay, it's like a tick with a little roof on top of it. So the square root of 16 is what times itself gives you 16. We'll have a little think. What's the square root of 16? Well, 4 times 4 is 16, so therefore the square root of 16 is 4. What would be the square root of 49? Okay, so there's a slight lag now. Let's just wait for that to come through. There it comes through. What's the square root of 49? What number times itself gives you 49? Well, 7 sevens are 49, so the square root of 49 is 7. So we will be practicing some of those types of questions. That is what a square root is. And again, I will give you the opportunity to, I would suggest, if you want to make a note of this, you just play the video back during the lesson or later. Okay, I don't really want to hang around giving you lots of time to make really neat notes live, because I think others won't be taking notes, and I really want us to spend a lot of the lesson time practicing the questions where I can support you. So what is a cube root? So a cube root is a number which times by itself and times by itself again gives you the original number. So let's have a think about this. What is the cube root of 8? And notice how cube root is written. It's just like a square root is, but you just put a little 3 on the end of the tick. Okay, so the cube root of 8 is 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Okay, so 2 cubed is 8. The cube root of 8 is 2. They're the inverse operations to each other. So what would be the cube root of 27? Well, what number times itself and times itself again gives us 27? And that is 3. Okay, 3 cubed is 27. The cube root of 27 is 3. So I think that is pretty much all I wanted to do on the teaching point of view. All right, I'm just going to, this is the final slide. Again, I'm going to do this quickly. I'm not going to give you time to write it down, but I want you thinking what would be below each of these yellow boxes. So what is 3 squared? So in your head, say to yourself, what is 3 squared? Come up with an answer in your head. Well, 3 squared means 3 times 3, which is 9. What is 2 squared? Well, that means 2 times 2, which is 4. Now, what is 2 cubed? Well, that's 2 times itself again. 2 2s are 4, 2 4s are 8. Now, square root of 16. What number times itself gives us 16? Well, that is 4. Let's look at the one in the middle now. What is 4 squared? That means 4 times 4, which is 16. Now, what's the cube root of 27? What number times itself and times itself again gives us 27? That's 3. Bottom left, what's the square root of 100? What number times itself is 100? That's 10. Now, what's the cube root of 64? What number times itself and times itself again gives us 64? This is a tricky one. That is 4. And then finally, what's the cube root of 1? What number times itself and times itself again gives us 1? Well, that is in fact 1. So that's all I want to do on the teaching. So just stay the cameras off and muted just while I stop this recording. So bear with me.